I'm Yulia, the voice of the podcast Love to Heal, a journey of self-discovery, healing, and spiritual growth.
Welcome to today's episode titled Men and Women Energy Exchange Part 1. Yes, this is a huge topic that will take me a couple of episodes to go over, but let's start today by me sharing with you my formed opinion on the masculine and feminine sexes and how their differences are essential to any human soul progression. As my spiritual teacher Inna Dovgan puts it, the only similarity between men and women is that they each have one head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. Everything else is pretty much different. So let's talk about that. Men and women are vastly different in their energies. While some aspects in men may be strong, in women they may be weak, and vice versa. For example, men are typically stronger physically, but women have stronger intuition. We are polar opposites. We are 2 sides of a coin. And what happens to opposites? They attract. On the soul level, we are meant to exist and evolve with and through our other half. Believe it or not, soul progression can only go so far if you're by yourself, if you don't have the other half in your life. Just like there are 2 sides to a coin and 2 riverbanks to a river, 2 essential parts make a whole. Think of the yin and yang symbol that represents an opposite but interconnected self-perpetuating cycle, comprised of complementary forces that interact to form a dynamic system in which the whole is greater than the assembled parts. Similarly, with people, it takes feminine and masculine energy to create something grand. This is how God intended it. Everything is divided into a giver and a receiver. While the sky provides sunshine and rain, the earth receives it and is nourished. I won't go into detail of how babies are made, but there must be a giver and a receiver. In the plant world, female flowers have pistils and male flowers have stamens. You see the pattern. Even in same-sex couples, one tends to be a giver and one a receiver. Think also of a battery. On one side, it has a plus. On the other side, it has a minus. This is called potential difference. In other words, no matter how seemingly happy people are alone, the forever bachelors, the highly independent women that don't need a man, they will not function to their highest potential, and their soul will not evolve as it would with a partner. If a woman has a good job, supports herself, and is all muscle, chances are she still wants to get married and start a family, except that if she exudes too much of masculine energy, what man is going to want her? A giver, by nature, doesn't want another giver. He wants a receiver. You see, nowadays it's so common for parents to instill in their daughters' minds the importance of independence, strength, equality with men, etc., that what happens is there are tons of women with masculine energy walking around. They fix up houses, they lift weights, they don't let men hold the door for them. And what are men to do? If women can do everything that the men do, then what is left for the men to feel like a man? Nothing. So relationships fall apart, and there are more and more single, successful women and men out there. If we want to be in a healthy relationship with the opposite sex, we must let each one employ their God-given talents respectively. Let the man do the heavy lifting. Let him make more money. Let the woman take care of the kids and make the house beautiful. Call me old-fashioned, but this is how it always was, and this is how it should be. From what I've gathered over the past few years is this. On our planet Earth, the rules are such. God gives the most divine energy to couples. And what does divine energy entail? Well, it entails health, wealth, and happiness. Separately, we're just not viable. The presence of masculine and feminine energies are simply inevitable in our lives. Look at it this way. If a man can't find a wife, he's likely to find the feminine energy through his mother. She will feed him, console him. If a woman is alone, she will likely find her masculine counterpart in her boss, maybe her older brother, maybe her son. Maybe she'll be a hardcore fan of a singer or a movie star. There are many possibilities. Okay, let's now talk about relationships and the balance of the masculine and feminine energies. My spiritual teacher, Inna, gave some amusing metaphors to explain how different yet indispensable both parties are. For example, we can view the man as a flower pot and the woman a flower. The man is the base, the support that allows the beautiful, more fragile flower to bloom. Without the flower, the pot would be nothing. Maybe a receptor for cigarette butts at best. And without the pot, the flower wouldn't survive. So every flower is destined, programmed to find a pot, and the pot seeks a flower to fill itself. And in ballroom dancing, since I'm a ballroom dancer, we also say that the man is the frame and the woman is the picture. I've always loved this metaphor. It makes a lot of sense to me. Another example known to all is that the head is the man while the neck is the woman. Wherever the neck turns, the head looks. And this is actually a very important concept to mention, because if the woman is spiritual, loves the world, and loves God, the man will follow. I'm actually experiencing this firsthand with my husband. When we first met, spirituality wasn't part of our lives, and a subject really rarely discussed. But when I began to explore spirituality, so did my husband. And today, day after day, he goes more and more deeply into the world of spirituality, finding himself and his purpose in life. We now discuss spiritual literature, we do meditations together, we do partner yoga, we talk about the afterlife and all the mysteries of life. So that now is something that really connects us. It's like a glue that holds us together and will hold us together until the end of our days. If the woman is very earthly, on the other hand, not awakened at all spiritually, the man will stay at her level as well. Daily conversations might consist strictly of material matters. What should we eat for dinner? When are we buying a new car? I would like a new purse. Let's get a bigger house, etc., etc. Now, this is not to say that earthly, non-awakened people are inferior. No, people get awakened only when they're ready, and karmically, souls know which kind of other half to look for. But if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already did awaken, or perhaps are in the midst of it and are on your path to enlightenment. So you will understand that we are not on this earth to collect cars, houses, and other material things. We are here to collect love, to learn to love and increase the love in our soul. And you know what happens when you do grow love in your soul? All the material becomes readily accessible anyway, by default, when you become a conduit of divine energy. Besides the material, you will also benefit from health and success in all facets of life. So let's come back again to the potential of masculine and feminine differences. Do you know who of the two is actually the more spiritual one? The man. This is designed because the woman is automatically more earthly due to her natural assignment of childbearing. Of course, we are all earthly beings. We start out as basically animals and evolve as we grow up and mature, right? We start out living by our lower chakras, the root and the sacral. We basically live by our instincts when we're babies, right? When we're born, we're driven by our need for food, for mama's milk, for warmth, care, and sleep. Then, when we're a little older, we might ask or even demand candy and toys. And then, when we're teenagers and up, we start wanting sex. And then some become ready to move up in their chakras and in their consciousness and seek truth, faith, unconditional love, perhaps, a deeper meaning to our existence, in the least. But coming back to why women are more earthly than men by design, and perhaps that's why we call Earth Mother, right? Mother Earth, and the sky, Father Sky, is because the woman's responsibility is to bring new souls to Earth, to give them physical bodies. Souls are energy. And in order for the energy to experience life on Earth and to evolve, it needs a physical form. And that's where women come in. Women naturally have a stronger instinct to care for children, to ensure their survival. You can observe this in the animal world just as well. Mama bird building a nest, feeding her babies. Even among humans, pregnant women tend to go through a nesting period when they feel a strong urge to clean and organize and prepare the home for the arrival of the baby. I know I went through that, I remember. But no matter how spiritual the woman may be, when she becomes a mother, her instincts will take over. For instance, I strongly believe that our lives are in the hands of God, that we can't and shouldn't be overprotective with our kids like the extreme helicopter parents do, that don't lose sight of their children and hold their hand all the way to college orientation and beyond. But, of course, the mother in me will occasionally come out to the forefront and make herself known. I'll remind my kid to put on a hat when he goes outside, even though I know that he's not going to get sick from the cold itself, right? There's a lot more involved in that energetically. Or when he rides his bike, I'll remind him to wear a helmet or to stop jumping off the couch. I don't know. Whatever it is, the mother in me often comes out and sort of forgets that, my child's fate is really in the hands of God and everything will be fine and it will be the way it needs to be. If my son needs to fall off a second-story building, it will happen. And no matter how much I look after him and make sure that he's safe, if it needs to happen, it will. I notice that I worry more about the safety and comfort of my kids than my husband does. He'll tell me sometime to relax, not to worry about what the kids will eat if I'm away or how they will sleep at their grandparents. When we're both away from our kids, I think my husband is able to completely relax and not worry about them, enjoying his time away from the chaos. Me, I think about the kids more. I call to check in, to ask if they're going to the bathroom regularly and brushing their teeth. You get the point. I'll never forget the story that my dad likes to tell about my older brother and how he took him to vacation for the first time without my mom. And so my dad took my brother away for maybe like a month. And this was back in Russia, back in the Soviet Union, actually. And this was some kind of like village where you ate what you found, sort of, or cooked what you fished, and there weren't any stores around or anything like that. So my mom and the grandmas, they were so worried about my brother because he was somewhat a picky eater and not used to being away from the comfort of his home and family. And so on this trip, my brother definitely grew up. My dad didn't baby him at all. They'd go fishing, and what they caught, they would eat for that day and maybe even the next day. And if my brother wanted fresh water, my dad would send him to a river to bring back fresh water. So I can only imagine how different the story would have been had my mom gone with them. I know she would have catered to my brother's every need and would have spoon-fed him if needed. And so the reason I'm trying to demonstrate how men and women are different is that when their energies come together to make one whole new energy, it is a very unique energy that does not exist in the universe otherwise. It can only be created when a man and a woman join by mutual love. When there's mutual love, magic happens. Let me give you a visual of what happens on the subtle plane when two people fall in love. Every person has an aura around them. Imagine an egg shape or oval, and when two ovals, two auras, come into contact, what happens? They join at the first and second chakras. The sacral chakra being the sexual chakra, and the first chakra is the root chakra, the most grounding chakra, the more earthly chakra. So these chakras are responsible for the initial spark, the attraction, the smile, and eventually sex. So now, picture that the ovals joined at the bottom, but the tops of the ovals stayed separate. Do you see the shape? Do you see a heart? From there, if the relationships develop into marriage or cohabitation, the third chakras join as well. And here the couple creates together a life, a project, children, etc. So now let's see what happens energetically when the second or third chakras are joined. First, second, and third, I should say. During intercourse, there forms a sort of energy vortex that has the potential to bring a new soul down to earth. If it's casual sex, if the couple is not spiritual and acting from pure instinct, the type of soul that the vortex is likely to attract is a low vibration soul. A soul that will have a long evolution ahead of it. A kindergartner in the school of souls, if you will. If, however, the couple is awakened, enlightened, is spiritual, and experiencing true love during sex, a high vibration soul will be attracted by that vortex. Either way, when people engage in sexual act, whether it be a one-night stand or a planned routine husband-wife get-together, the energy structures of both parties in that instant form or configure for the creation of new life. Even if the couple uses protection, still, energetically, the souls are attracted into their energy field. New souls that have not come to earth yet. They are attracted into their energy field. If a child is conceived during a purely physical act, then most likely that child will be an earthly being, a physical body that doesn't consciously know about his or her soul, that lives primarily by instincts to eat, to sleep, to procreate. Whereas if a child is conceived during an act of love where the two parties feel a soul connection, that child will likely become a spiritual being, one that is conscious of the soul, that lives by soul first, then body kind of ideals, that follows intuition and perhaps seeks a higher purpose in life. Here's something else I'd like to share with you that I learned from my teacher. Around the age of 45, people start to feel the need for a deeper connection with their partner. If up until that age, it felt comfortable to live more by the body and the mind, by the first lower chakras, first, second, third chakras, around the age of 45, something awakens in the person and they start to soul search. This is often referred to as a midlife crisis by many. I know countless couples that have split up around that age. This is because the age of 40 plus, at that age, we feel that we've done it all. We finished school, got a job, created a family, built a house, and now what? And this is true, by the way, especially for empty nesters. Once their kids are out of the everyday picture, the parents often find themselves lost. What do we do now? We don't need to drive anyone to school or to their extracurricular activities. We don't need to cook for the kids, to go to their events and games, to help them with homework. And this is when many people realize they have little in common with their significant other, and they start to look for a companion, someone to talk to, someone to share their hobbies with. This is because at this ripe age of 40-something, the soul tends to come out of its shadow and takes lead. At this age, we think less with the physical body, we feel more with the soul. The fourth chakra starts to open. We start to feel it. It activates. This is why sometimes men will leave their younger, pretty wives for an older woman, because what they may need now is companionship, deeper conversations and understanding, as opposed to shopping, beauty, focus on the material things, you name it. If during our younger years, it's okay to let our bodies lead the way, it's okay to live in the hustle and bustle of kids, jobs, parties, to talk about superficial things like, movies, food, vacation, then in our second half of life, we may feel a shift to the need of discussing our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts. That shape of the heart that I had you picture in your mind is not meant to remain as a heart till death do us part. This shape is supposed to actually transform into the original oval, except this time, instead of two separate ovals, two separate people and auras, you get one combined oval. This happens when the couple is able to connect at their higher chakras, fourth chakra and up. This is a true, deep connection between two people. I'm sure you know of couples that have been so long together, they start to resemble one another. Some couples make it to 50, even 60 years of marriage, and they become inseparable. They become one. When I think of couples like that, I picture their auras as one oval. It's no longer a shape of a heart. There's no strong sexual attraction, maybe not at all. There's no sparks, no flirting perhaps, but instead there is real love, real care for each other, understanding and support. I'll share with you another advice that my dad gave me before I met my husband. My dad would remind me from time to time that physical attraction goes to the background if not disappears completely after years of being together with the same person. That when choosing a partner for life, it's important to find out what you have in common. What will you talk about when the novelty and excitement wears off? It helps to be from a similar background, of course, similar cultures, faith, even political opinions. Looking back at my past relationships, now I see that most were absolutely superficial, and thus they ended in their due time, thankfully. I feel what I'm building with my husband now will last forever. Well, as long as our bodies are alive in this life. This is not our first life together. We've known each other for many lives. And in this life, I intend to evolve spiritually more than ever. That's my goal. With and through my husband. Likewise, he will progress spiritually through me. We need each other for soul progression. And of course, this union, this relationship feels so different from anything I'd experienced before. What can I say? I love being on my spiritual journey with my soulmate. It's wonderful to see each other grow and share spiritual experiences. So, coming back to the natural differences between men and women, the other image I'd like you to have in your mind is again the yin and yang. So picture that one more time. The circle is divided into equal parts of black and white, and each of those parts has a small dot of the opposite color. And this is representative of one quality existing within the other. This can be applied to our topic in the following way. Men are typically stronger, as we've discussed. They are designed to be our support, and they're less emotional and often more practical. But this is not to say that they don't possess any of the feminine qualities. Of course they do. Men have emotions too and can be weak at times. As receivers, women should expect to take on her partner's energy. I've talked about this, by the way, in my episode titled My Own Experience with QHHT, Quantitative Healing Hypnosis Technique. And I talked about the subject that when a man is, say, having a bad day and he spends time with his wife or girlfriend, he will unload his negative energy onto the woman. The reason I'm mentioning this is that in a healthy relationship, a woman will be the one to ask the most questions of her partner. How was your day? What did you do today? Etc. The deeper she can get with her questions, the better. Such as, how did you feel during that meeting? Tell me why you don't seem yourself today. And so on and on. Since men are less emotional outwardly, they're likely to keep their emotions to themselves, which is not good for health and happiness reasons. They are less likely to talk to their pals about their emotions, like women often do, so it's really the woman's job to make sure her partner's worries and fears are heard. And this is also very important. Since women are more emotional, we should try our best to stay calm and console our man instead of freaking out or bursting in tears when our partner shares deep feelings with us. If we overreact, he may not want to share with us in the future. Men like to see themselves as strong. They prefer not to show their vulnerable side. And similarly, women too want a strong man, someone that will protect their family, lead them through tough times. So, if the man does share his deepest feelings or weaknesses with a woman, it's important to demonstrate to him that you, as a woman, you still believe in him, that you feel safe with him, and you will support him no matter what. But it's a very important aspect of a relationship to be able to handle problems together, not have one person be the bearer of all problems, because the person can break. So when your partner shares with you, be that shoulder to cry on. Listen to your partner, hear them out, and support them, and make them feel that they have support as well. And this is why, of course, women have masculine qualities too. And I will come back to that in a minute. Here's another example. My husband revealed to me not long ago that he has been very worried about our financial future, about putting our 3 kids through college and still having enough for our retirement, hopefully before we get into the 70s. This worrying was contributing to his lower chakras being blocked. That had a negative effect on his health. When I heard this, I was taken by surprise because, first of all, I had never even thought about the possibility of having financial insecurity because, in my mind, God always provides. I just know intuitively inside of me, I know that I'm safe and I know I'll be taken care of one way or another. That's never been a concern of mine. Second of all, my husband never gave me any clues to his concerns. He was keeping it all to himself, keeping it all inside. Of course, he's more practical out of us two, and I give him credit for always taking care of the family and making it seem like everything is solid and secure. But it's important to share these types of worries and not keep them bottled up. So when I listened to him, I tried to put his mind at rest. I reminded him to trust the process of life, to keep a positive outlook on life, that our kids will be just fine. If they turn out to be smart, they'll get a scholarship. And if not, they'll take out a loan if worse comes to worse. And this way, we can help balance each other out. Imagine if we both worried about the future so much, we'd be 2 anxious people walking around, paranoid, feeding off each other's low vibrating energy of fear. No, thank you. But on the other hand, imagine if my husband were like me, living paycheck to paycheck, not saving for the future, not making long-term plans. Well, we'd probably be pretty unhappy too. The point here is that we balance each other out by our innate differences. And of course, relationships can vary. In some relationships, maybe the woman is the more practical one than the man, and etc. But either way, the energies have to be different to help balance each other out. We women also have masculine qualities. As I mentioned, we can be very strong when needed. We can be practical and provide for our family and plan for the future, no problem. Yes, we have that capability, especially in the case of single mothers and widows. They have all the qualities of a man when life demands them. Is the woman happy in that role? No. She will most likely look for a new partner, or at least will yearn for a new partner to divide these responsibilities with and to feel complete. And now, getting back to the concept of yin and yang, yang is the masculine energy, the black part of the circle, the active role, the strength, the responsibility, the money, the self-confidence. The woman is the yin, the passive energy, the weaker of the two sexes, the listener, the shoulder to cry on. And so together, this balanced union can work wonders. It can create magic. It can become the ideal avenue for soul evolution. You see, man has a direct connection to the divine, to our Creator. As I mentioned earlier, men innately are designed to be more spiritual. They may not have come to that realization yet if they are not awakened, but men are more spiritual by design. Man was created first, as you probably have heard the story of Adam and Eve from the Bible, and thus through him runs the divine energy. Man is that electric outlet, if you can picture that, and the woman is the plug. And if we have a man to plug into, we women can have better access to the divine energy and to soul progression. I see this, by the way, in our synagogue. I mentioned in previous episodes that my husband and I belong to a temple, and we like to go for classes with our rabbi and for other events at our synagogue. And I learn a lot from my rabbi and his wife, and I understand spirituality so much better than when I didn't have access to that information, when it wasn't part of my spiritual education, if you will. And so what I see at the synagogue is that the men do most of the prayer, while the women stay with the children, or the women might be there with a prayer book in hand, but they'll be chatting with their friends. So our synagogue is actually Jewish Orthodox. So men and women are separated during prayer by this sort of wall. Not all the way to the ceiling, like you can still see them, but the men are on one side and the women are on the other side. And I see the men always very deep in prayer, concentrated in prayer, with their prayer books open, going through all the necessary motions of standing up and sitting down during prayer, etc. But the women, there's always less on the women's side. And like I said, a lot of times they will be chatting to somebody sitting next to them. They may not repeat the prayers that they hear the rabbi or the cantor singing. And so I asked the rabbinets, the rabbi's wife, I asked her about that because it was really interesting to me. Why aren't women as spiritual, if you will, as men? And this is what she said. She said that in the Bible, God asks more of men when it comes to being spiritual. Men in Judaism have many more spiritual responsibilities and obligations. For example, the Orthodox man should wear a special cloth over his shoulders during prayer and tie this special strap around one arm and wear a special garment under his clothes every single day and pray more often. Women don't have to do all this because their job is more earthly. I already mentioned this. Women are more earthly because they bear children. So even in the Bible, the God expects women to take care of the kids, take care of the household. This is how God intended it. Of course, times have changed and we live in a modern society and all that, but I feel that there's so much truth in the Bible, in the Torah. Since I'm Jewish, I'll say Torah. And if we can understand and appreciate our innate differences between men and women, I strongly believe we can create happier unions and healthier people. This topic is far from concluded. There's so much more that I would like to talk to you about. So join me for part 2 of Men and Women Energy Exchange next week. So stay tuned for that. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to this episode. Please share it with your friends and anyone who might be interested in this topic. And I will leave you today with a quote from Rabbi Isaac Luria from the Holy Ari, the years 1534 to 1572. Enjoy, and until next time. The person to whom our Torah speaks is neither a man nor a woman, but both combined. For this is how Adam was first created, and this is how we are in essence, 2 half bodies that are truly one. The minds are 2, but the bodies, the souls, and the very core of these 2 people are one and the same. This is why character and responsibilities of a man and a woman differ, for each side of the body does its part to complement the other. It would be redundant, after all, for both sides to do the same.